Good morning, I'm Eric Yaki. I'm a business student here at UB. I graduated back in August, and now I'm a student in the simulation and digital entertainment. I'm going to finish that up in the summer. This is my semester project. I've been working on it for a while now. This is Cardiac. It's a fitness racer. So, what this does for the person who's actually using the piece of equipment. This is a combination exercise and video game. As you can see, it's an exercise bike, and it has a built-in video game that's played with this equipment, and it's specific to this equipment. What this thing does, though, is it allows people from every fitness background to compete. It's not just for people who exercise all the time, and it's not just for gamers. I'm trying to find some sort of middle ground here, and also have the software dynamically adjust to someone's fit level. And I'll get to that a little bit later. So, what this also does for people is it motivates people both before and during the workout stage. Normally, when you have someone doing a workout, they get all amped to go exercise, and when they're actually doing it, they can't wait for it to be over. So, the idea behind this is that it gives a person a chance to disassociate from what they're doing and have a good time while they're doing it. This sort of stemmed from an idea that I had back when I was on my way to losing a lot of weight, and I would play video games while I was on an exercise bike, and I realized that when I'm racing against other people, I'm not really thinking about the exercise. And it doesn't really hit me until it's all over, and then suddenly I'm like, my legs are on fire. So I figured if I can make a machine that does all of this, and sky's the limit. That was the concept art down there. It's slowly becoming a reality. Now, what this does for the customer, this is a business product. It's meant to be sold to businesses. Specifically, the main market would be gyms. But also, it could be used by schools and arcades. Arcades is a bit of a dying market, and schools might have limited application to their budgets. But gyms, in specific, are beginning to get a little bit more technologically savvy. Gyms, you might have seen something kind of similar to this. There are a couple different exercise bikes in gyms right now that have a video game attached, but usually it's just a visualization. You have a guy on the screen who pedals a bike when you pedal, and that's pretty much it. You might have heard of the Tour de France bike that was just been used for homes. Again, it's more of a simulation product, and you're not really steering and playing a game. It's more you have something to watch and distract yourself with while you're playing, which is still an improvement, but we're not all the way there yet. And this, I feel, is all the way there. So, what this does for gyms is, it's definitely unique. Even among these other machines I've talked about, it gives people, it has wow factor, basically. And if they go into your gym and they see something like this, they'd be like, wow, what's that? So, it also makes the gym look better. A lot of people, when they go into a gym, if they see some sort of really out there piece of equipment, they'll think that this gym is more likely to repair their stuff frequently. They generally have a better opinion of the gym. And also, this bike in particular has an online component, which allows people not only to race against people next to them, but race online against other gyms. And every bike in the game has the gym's logo on it. And the scoreboard, after each race, shows the logo of the racer. So it promotes competition between the gyms. And that could also be very important for the gym's street cred. Our educational games, perhaps. This is sort of in the same vein in that it's trying to get kids to do something that's good for them without them realizing it. And especially younger children tend to learn through play, but they also exercise through play. And this is a natural extension of that. Also, what's interesting about this bike is that because of what I've talked about with it not really having eyes for, it doesn't care if someone's fit or if they're not, because it will automatically adjust the difficulty based on certain parameters of the text. And again, I'll get to that a bit later. But because of that, no one really feels left out, no one feels like they're inferior to anyone else in their school. And it's a safe environment, they're not going to get hurt. This isn't a contact sport. But it's still highly competitive, and I think that's important for schools. Now for arcades, I had a company in 2005 that made arcade games. And I know a little bit about that industry. Basically, you're not allowed to make an arcade game unless it's a racer, a shooter, or a dance game. And this happens to be a racer, so yay for me. But the racers do very well in arcades, and they're always in demand. And it's something people can It also has unique gameplay, and in the arcade area, a lot of these games that have physical components, such as the dance games, attract a lot of attention. Because it's new and people aren't used to actually physically exerting themselves when they play video games. Now, the stakeholders. This bike has a lot of different revenue streams built into it. First, of course, we have the direct sales, or the indirect sales that go through the distribution centers to gyms. Most of the time, the way the gyms operate is the gyms have a supplier that they go through and get all their equipment from. But aside from that sale, there's also in-game advertisements. There are billboards in the game that are going to be placed all around the landscape, also like on the side of the retaining walls, sell ad space there. And the ads would dynamically update through the internet. So this game could sell these ad spaces and make revenue that way. The game also has a website that players can log into and create an account. And then the website, when they sit down at the bike in the gym, there will be a QR code, one of those like black and white crazy looking things. I don't have a picture of them right now, but if you have a smartphone, you can scan those things and it'll usually take you to a website or something. In this case, if you scan that, it will log you into the machine. Just like that, all you gotta do is point your phone at it. And so that links the online site and the bike. And that opens up a whole world of possibilities, one of which is that users are going to be able to customize their bikes and their characters through credits they earn by playing the game, or also through credits that they buy with their card. And this is a huge thing that's going on right now in the gaming industry called the freemium policy, where something is presented as free, and then you can start attaching sales on if people want to get further down the rabbit hole. Also, because the game has a huge online component and almost requires online, we would be partnering with Wi-Fi and internet providers, and we make a percentage of sales on that. And also, because of the online site here, it's going to be collecting data on users, such as heartbeat range, how quickly people go around certain turns, age, all sorts of demographics that could be outrageously useful to a lot of people. And so that's another thing we could sell, but it's also another thing that we could use just internally for the company to make future iterations better. For manufacturing partners, the benefit to carrying a bike like this is that when gyms buy their equipment, like I said, they go through a supplier, but their supplier, they usually can't go outside of that supplier. So if a certain supplier has this bike, then an entire franchise might say, well, we really want more of these types of pieces of equipment to see they're doing well. So we're going to switch our entire supply engine over to these people in the future. And that could be an enormous incentive. I have to stress that this game really is unique. The main thing is this is not a simulation. If you go into a gym that has a bike like this, what you're going to see is a little guy on the screen pedaling a bicycle, wearing a helmet, going on the safe little trail. It's very cute, but the thing is, why are you in a gym? You know, if you are on a bicycle, you could just ride a bicycle outside and get that experience. The whole idea behind this is that it is a fun arcade experience and it's larger than life. You're going to be on a motorcycle, doing jumps, racing against 24 other people, winding down these treacherous paths and everything. It's going to be a spectacular presentation, just like an arcade game. And it's going to capture people's interest. And it's going to be something you can't just do at home or on your own. Like I said before, everyone can play. It's not just for fit people. And it's also not just for people who have a sedentary lifestyle. The way this determines that is that it's going to have health sensors on the handlebars that you grip. It's going to detect your heart rate. And then if your heartbeat is not inside the target range, the pedals are going to increase the tension, how difficult it is to pedal. That creates the baseline. Then tension will also increase as you're going uphill. And point being, if you're not very fit and it detects your heart is racing, it's going to automatically lower the tension for you, so you can continue racing. But if someone is really fit and someone is not so fit right next to them, racing together, the really fit guy is going to be working like crazy to get as far as the guy who's not fit. But both of them are going to be getting just as good a workout. I already went over most of the online component, but the idea is that these races are going to have about 24 people in them. And I won't bore you with how matchmaking is going to work, but the idea is you'll be able to race people right next to you and people online. So, okay, hands off the steering wheel for 1 second.
Cool.
Okay, and she's rolling backwards right now. will,
Oh, well.
after about a year of training. So, this is just a demo track, and of course this is just a prototype piece of equipment. Right now, the way the wheel's situated, it's not quite as ergonomic as I'd like the design to be, and it also doesn't have the pulse features I've talked about. But I think this at least demonstrates the concept, in that you certainly don't see a bicycle here, and parks in, that you would ride a bicycle on tend not to have huge jumps like that. By the way, congratulations on nailing it on the first try. I think you're the first person to ever hit that. So it's also a more detailed rendering than you would usually see in an exercise video game. And I think that's sort of the point, is that all the exercise games that you see out there right now are not designed by gamers, and they're not designed by game companies. They're designed by people who make exercise equipment and have a team who, might have played Madden a couple times and think they know what they're doing. So, that, she can do this without killing herself. But the actual cardio routines are going to mirror a bike. So, have you ever been on an exercise bike where it shows you the different patterns that you have? Like you might have one that looks like a bunch of squares in a row. The way that I would do that in this game is you would have a huge hill you have to climb. And because you're going uphill, there would be more tension in the pedals. Then there would be a huge jump or a big downhill race at the end of that, and that would be the easy period, and you'd have a couple of those. And you also have the mountain programs in most exercise bikes, and that would be a different level. So people would all agree in the software on what level they're going to play together at that point in time, and then have at it. Might have to reset if you can't get around that. I only have 5 more minutes. I do? Okay, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
That's a workout.
Anyone want to give me lots of money?
Yeah.
Sorry, got a question here.
Yes.
I may have missed this. So, did you build this prototype, or is it an adaptation of something that currently exists? I'm not completely sure.
I bought one second. I just realized. Okay, never mind. I bought a regular exercise bike, and then I gutted it and made it do whatever I wanted to do, basically. This exercise bike normally doesn't let you play video games, obviously. It's cool. Yeah, this was just a normal piece of exercise equipment that had magnetic resistance, that sort of thing. It had all the stuff I needed to work with. But then I have my own hardware graph to do it, and everything inside is rewired to do what I needed to do. The wheel is temporary. I'm going to be replacing that with my own stuff also, but it's there for the purposes of demonstration.
And what sort of measures have you taken to protect your invention?
To protect it, like that's the software stuff. Right now, none. As a business student, you would think I would know better, but as far as copyright is concerned, the main thing that I want to do with it is patent it, and I don't have a spare 20 grand laying around for that. I have been in touch with the Entrepreneurial Opportunity Center, or whatever it's being called these days, I don't think it's that anymore. And also been in touch with mentoring from people in the health field. And we're moving forward on working with the UB law and marketing departments on getting this out there, but also getting it protected. Did I answer your question? Yes?
So you said you can't buy this at home, but why not? Why can't you do individual sales?
I probably could do individual sales, but first I would need to work with a manufacturing partner to figure out how I can bring costs down for the individual unit. Because when you're talking about home sales for video games, people tend to have a certain threshold of how much they're willing to pay for it. And that threshold is usually around $150 to $200. The other thing is that a unit like this would need to be a product that works with existing hardware. And the threshold for that, for existing systems, is even lower, because someone is going to say, I already spent $600 on a PS3, why should I have to pay $200 more to, play one game?
Good timing.
My last game, it was terrible at it.
Yeah,
So
this
you
game-
can really tell that this one you can actually play.
For a really lame gamer like myself, and the last game was hard for me to get into, this one's awesome. Great job.